Hi there viewers, this is Glebe Junction, and in this video I'm going to show you how I built my third rail around the layout, and also I'm going to attempt to build some overhead electrical lines as well. So I'm going to show you how I've attempted to build mine, or how I'm going to attempt to build mine, shall I say. But first of all, the third rail, as most of you will know, that I've already got third rail fitted to most of this side of the layout, the station side of the layout, and I have a section just down here within the station, about a foot's worth, that has not got the third rail due to a bridge that was there previously that has now been removed, and I've just got a blank space there with no third rail, so it looks a bit odd. So I've got the third rail down this end, as you can see. The camera's picking up, and all I need to do is just carry on that third rail under the new bridge that I've built just here. And obviously I'm going to show you how I went about building this third rail, because I've had a few people over the past asking me how I built the third rail. Now I'm sure there's probably different ways of doing it. I know there's different manufacturers out there that build the third rail kits. I get a certain kit and I do it a certain way, and it's by no means the right way, but it's effective and it works for me. So everyone's got their own way of doing things, but this is my way, and I say it works well for me. So if you copy what I've done, I don't think you're going to go far wrong. Okay, so first off, just some of the things that you're going to need in order to fit the third rail. The first things you're going to need are conductor chairs, and I use the Pico 4mm fine scale track component conductor rail chairs. It's the IL120, and it comes in just a pack of plastic sprues, and I think there's about 10 chairs to each sprue, and there's about 5 or 6 sprues in there. So there's enough in a pack here to do a fair length of third rail. I tend to go for the Pico ones because I find them easier to use. There may well be better ones out there in the market, but I've not heard much about them. So this will probably cost you around about £6 for a pack of this. The next thing to get is obviously the rail, and what I use is the Pico Code 60 nickel silver flat bottom rail. It's the IL1 is the product code. It comes in a pack of 6. It's cost me £7.20. I'm sure it's probably cheaper elsewhere. Now it's the Code 60 is what I tend to use. It looks better, it looks more realistic. Some people use Code 100, but what I found with that is it does foul on the bottom of the bogies, or if you've got an EMU with the conductor on the side of the bogies, it can obviously foul on the Code 60, because it's obviously that little bit higher than the Code 60. Sorry, the Code 100 is higher than the Code 60. So Code 60 is the one you want, and obviously it looks a lot better. You can get these from most model shops, and the best thing to do is ask, because you never know where they're going to be, because they could be hidden away. And the next thing you need is a pack of drill pieces. I've got this micro box one here, and it goes from 0.5 millimeters to 2.2 millimeter drill pieces. And what Pico say with the chairs is that you need to drill 8 or 0.8 mil holes in every 4th sleeper. Now I find every 4th sleeper you're just wasting too many of these. I tend to do it every 5 sleepers, and then that way it spaces out just right along the length of the rail head. And it says to drill the 0.8 hole, which I find it may well be a little bit too small, because the actual literal conductor chairs have very, very fine pin on them, if you can see on the camera, but they do tend to bend quite easily and snap. So what I've been using is a 0.9 mil drill piece, and it just gives it that little bit of a bigger hole for it to slide in. You can even use a 1 mil drill head as well, and it works just as well. And then obviously what you need is a drill of some kind. What I just use this little hand drill from Expo Tools, and it does the job just as well. So they're really all the components that you're going to need in order to do this job. Now I've done it, the way I'm going to show you this time is slightly different to the way I laid the third rail previously, because what I did previously was I put the chairs into the sleepers, and then what I did is I glued them in, left them overnight, and then what I did is I then slid the Code 60 rail into the chairs, which can be a little difficult, and it can obviously remove the actual chairs from the sleepers, and then again you have to start again. But that's how I did it last time. It was a bit of an annoying way of doing it, but this time what I'm going to do is drill the holes previous to fitting the chairs onto the rail head, and then obviously I'm going to attempt to try and glue them directly into the holes and see how we go, and hopefully that will work. So the next job for me to do is to obviously drill the holes into the sleepers, and then glue the chairs in. Okay, so what I've now done is I've drilled the holes into every fifth sleeper in the track, which I'm not going to show you on the camera because it just won't pick it up. The important thing to do when drilling the hole, or the holes into the sleepers, is to make sure that you can try and get the holes in line, so you don't get too many twists or bends within the actual rail head. I mean, it's not a major problem if they're not in line, because the actual track is quite flexible, so it will fit if there are any kinks or bends, but it is obviously best for realism to get the lines or the holes in line with each other. Anyway, once the holes are actually drilled out, the next thing to do is to cut out all these little rail chairs. Now they are very small, and you'll need to make 3 cuts per chair. You need to do one at the base, and then obviously you need to cut either side of the actual chair, cut away the sprue. In the pack you do get washers as well, which you would normally put under the base of the chair, and they would sit on top of the actual sleeper, but I don't actually use these, to be honest with you. It doesn't really make any difference unless you want the rail to be higher, but in this case, with the bottom of the chair sitting flush on the sleeper, they sit high enough, and that's basically all you need. What I now need, I've made 74 holes, so I need to cut out 74 of these, which will take me some time to do, so that is my next job. Okay, so now all 74 chairs are now cut out, as you can see on the video. They're just little white chairs. They are very small and very delicate, so it's probably best to keep them in a little lid of a jar or something like that. This is probably taking me about 10 minutes to cut these out properly. You need a real good sharp pair of cutters, like these ones here. Now I've got other pairs which are quite blunt, and they're just not cutting through, but these are track cutters, which I suppose I shouldn't be using on plastics. It probably can potentially blunt these cutters, but the most decent ones I've got. So they've done quite well. So I've got 74 chairs here. All I need to do is separate the Code 60 rail, which is looks like it's wrapped in sellotape of some kind. So I need to get these out and then get the chairs on. Okay, so I've now separated the pack of Code 60 rail, as you can see, and the actual rail itself is a lot more flimsier than the Code 100, so it's something to note, to be careful with, because it can bend very easily. And what I find the next best thing to do is when fitting these tiny little rail chairs to the actual Code 60 rail, obviously you're going to need to slide them on one end and then just slide them along and just have them along the rail head ready to fit into the actual sleepers. But the best thing to do is to get a small little file and just rub down the ends of each or one end of the Code 60 rail. And you want to rub down the actual bottom, not the top. You want to rub down the bottom where the chairs slide over, because you find that way that the rail head actually slides into the chairs a lot easier. especially if you're planning on sliding the rail through the chairs when the chairs are already fixed to the sleepers within the track. This is the trouble I had when I did it. I put the sleepers down first, and when they dried, I then ended up sliding the Coast 60 rail through the chairs, and where it was not been folded down, I found it was pulling the chairs out of the sleepers, so I had a few the odd one or two that I had to keep gluing back in. So I ended up filing the ends, and then obviously finding that they just slid into the chairs really easily. So that's probably the next step in order to efficiently get the sleepers onto the track. Okay, so I've now got the chairs onto the railhead. I've got 18 chairs on each railhead in total. I've drilled 18 holes per length. What I did do as well, when I built the third rail on the layout, the gap that was in between the third rail that I'd already built was the exact same size as one of these Coast 60 rails, so I didn't have to cut it. So I measured it in a way that I knew that I could just put this straight on. So what I've done is obviously I've just placed them onto the chairs onto the rail. Now all I need to do is put the rail down by the side of the sleepers, and then space these chairs out so that they fit in the holes. Make sure that they're all spaced out in the correct length. Make sure they all fit into the holes properly. What you must ensure you do is clean each sleeper where the hole is in. Make sure there's no dirt or ballast or anything like that on the sleepers, otherwise the chairs just won't fit in properly, and they'll go wonky, and then obviously the rail will just won't look right. So you need to make sure that the sleepers are actually clean as well, where the hole is actually situated. And it's probably best, if you're going to fit third rail, is to fit this third rail once you've actually fitted the track and you're happy with the track plan, before you do the ballast or the weathering. Because what I've done is I did the ballast and the weathering first, and then the third rail is just an afterthought. And what I've then done is, where I've done the drilling the holes in the sleepers, I've disturbed some of the ballast and obviously some of the weathering as well. So once this is fitted in, I'm going to have to go over it again and weather it again and touch up all the little mistakes that I've made. So it's basically just giving myself an extra job that I've already done. So it is best that obviously this is done at the planning stage. So what I'm going to do now is get these spaced out in the right lengths and make sure they fit the holes, and then we're going to add some super glue to the holes and then fit them in and let it dry overnight. Okay, so as you can see from here, here's my Coast 60 rail with the chairs on. Obviously from the picture you can't see the holes that I've drilled within the sleepers themselves, but I have drilled a hole every fifth sleeper and then I've cleaned up the edge of the sleeper, taken away the paint and all the ballast on the sleeper, so I know the chairs are going to fit in properly. So what I now need to do is I need to spread these chairs all the way up and down this Coast 60 rail in order for them to fit into the holes properly. And when I'm happy with that the third rail sits in place as it is, I will then use super glue to glue them back into place. Okay, as you can see, the first bit of third rail is now in on the inner main line. What you'll find is, once you've spaced out each individual chair, which obviously are in white, best thing to do is lay the third rail on its side and then just push the chairs along so they line up with each hole in the sleeper. And then what you need to do is then just start at one end, is gently just start pushing the chairs into the holes. What you don't want to do is try and force them into holes, because then the stalk of the chair will bend and eventually break. So if you find you've got a hole that's slightly too small, then obviously just get your drill piece and then just re-drill it a bit more, maybe wiggle it around a bit just to make the hole a little bit bigger, and then they should just slide in. Mine have just slid in quite nicely. I've had to make one of the holes a little bit bigger, but they've slid in and they're quite rigid. I probably don't need any glue on them, but what I'm going to do is going to get a little cocktail stick with a bit of super glue on and just put it around the base for each chair, just so I know that the third rail is never going to pull out, because you will find sometimes if a loco derails, it may take the third rail with it, which is something you don't want to do because it can make a mess and you've got to start all over again. So yeah, so the inner line is done. As you can see, it's a lot different to the one on the other side, because the other side is obviously weathered. So this one actually shows up quite well, where it's quite new, so that will need a good weathering. And then obviously I've got the other 3 lines to do, but I'm not going to obviously show those in the videos. That's something I'll do as I go along tonight. But yeah, so this is the way that I do it. Whether it's the right or the wrong way, no one knows. I mean, you can do it by putting the chairs in the sleepers first and then sliding the rail head through, which again can lift up the chairs, and you may have to start again. But like I say, this is my way of doing it, and this is just to show those out there that are unsure about third rail, that have thought about fitting it but thinking that it might be a job too big. It's actually not a job too big. It's fairly simple. The only problem with it is it's very monotonous, very time consuming, and when you lean over the track here like me, it gives you bad back after a while. But it isn't hard, it isn't difficult, it is fairly easy. So if you're thinking of fitting it, give it a go. It will enhance the track work and add dimension to the layout as well, which is why I fitted it. And now my next job is obviously to fit the overhead electrics, which is my next job, which I will be videoing as well along with this video, and I'll add it all together. So yeah, so that's it for the third rail. I'm going to finish off the rest of it, leave the glue to dry overnight, and then I'm going to airbrush it and weather it tomorrow. And what I do is I'm going to start making up the overhead electrics, which I will add to this video as well. Okay, as you can see, all the remainder third rail is now put in place, all the way under where the bridge would go. If I take a closer look, as you can see, it's all in place now. There are a couple of wonky sections, but not too serious. It's not really something that stands out, you could really notice. I know they're there because I noticed them as I was building, but it's obviously not something that you're really going to notice. Now if I show you with the 47 next to it, you can see the third rail sits quite close to the bogies, and also as well as the snowplow, as you can see. So if you was to use the spacers, that would raise it up, and if you was to use code 100, that would raise up a little bit more, and it would probably foul against the bogies and the snowplow as well. So it's best to stick with the code 60 and not use the spacers. That's my opinion. That's what I think. And obviously, if this was an EMU and it had the conductor on the side of the bogies, then that it almost touches the third rail, so it looks more realistic that way. So yeah, I'm quite pleased that. So all I've got to do now is, because it's a bit of a mess, I need to hoover it, and then I need to get the airbrush out because I've chipped away some of the paint on the weather of the track. So it just needs to go over again with the airbrush, and then it's all finished. So now we're on to the overhead electrics.